Hello.
Yeah, that's your name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yeah.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass and I see these deer moving, and I'm like, "Ooh, there's deer moving." All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
when you're
the
275 pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
the Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
yeah,
You know,
he's like,
he's up there slapping, pissing all over everything.
"Is it warm yet?"
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's right. I know.
Why did you say his name?
Hervé Villechaize. I can remember the English.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pertnear Outdoors. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. This is your host, Billy, and I hope you had a great weekend. So we are heading into what should be an interesting work week for many of us. Not quite sure what to expect. It's definitely an odd time for us here around the world and around our country, but I hope everybody's happy and healthy and, keeping your distance from everyone else, except for, if you got a pregnant wife, she's probably pretty happy because you're keeping that 6-foot distance, which mine is. She's loving this whole social distancing thing, but that's neither here nor there. So this past week on Thursday, we had our pint night up in Buffalo at Rusty Nickel Brewing, and I want to give a shout out to not only the people that came, but the people that helped put it together. So a big shout out to Emily Melsky, M. Joe, as many people know. Emily is kind of a staple of the West Seneca community, and she works and has been real close with Rusty Nickel Brewing, and they've allowed us to host a couple events there over the last year. So I definitely want to give a shout out to Emily and a shout out to Rusty Nickel for allowing us to have that event there, and it's a great spot for stuff like that. So thanks to Emily, and thanks to Sean Burdick and Pete Alinsky as well, the other regional coordinators here in Region 9 for backcountry hunters and anglers, for helping me put that together. It was awesome. Had a good turnout and had the opportunity to meet some pretty cool people from around the Western New York area, that a lot of new members to backcountry hunters and anglers that either joined up on Thursday night or joined up within the last few months or last year. So a lot of good energy, a lot of good stuff from that, and look forward to the next time we can all get together and hang out. So if you're listening and you were there, thank you so much. It was awesome. So moving on from that, I hope everyone's been getting out, and if you do like to get out this time of year and walk around and check out deer sign and try to find some sheds, and shed hunting just seems to be like the most popular thing in the world right now, the world of the outdoors. But it is fun. It's something to get you out there and get you motivated to be in the outdoors. And I've had some pretty decent luck myself this year, which I'm pretty happy about. Probably the best luck I've ever had. And just today, I actually found a couple more sheds out on the farm. A couple bucks. I'm sure the one we probably have pictures of, just a really nice yearling, 8-point side. And then I found another shed, a big 8-point side, probably a 2.5-year-old, and pretty excited about that. So both of them, just basically, strategy for me this year has just been walking deer trails, just get in the woods and find some decent pounded down deer trails and just walk them. And both those horns I found today were basically laying right in the wide open. And I was telling my wife, I thought it was kind of funny that, you would assume that you'd find a lot of these sheds just laying, you'd go to some of the thick bedding areas and find them because you'd assume that they would hit branches and whatnot. But I know the sheds that I've found this year, the 3 sheds I've found, and a few of the people that I'm close with, the sheds that they've been finding have been just laying right in the wide open, right in the middle of the hardwoods. So kind of odd, but it's kind of nice because you can kind of walk much quicker and cover a lot more ground when you're going through hardwoods and not through the brush lots. So food for thought next time you're out there. Maybe don't spend too much time in the thick and nasty. Kind of get on some of those decent deer trails and just move and see what you can find. So hope you've been getting out there, and I hope to get out quite a bit more here in the next few weeks to try to find any more bone that's laying around. Looks like the forecast is going to be awesome for that sort of stuff. We're not going to really get any snow, but it's not going to warm up too much. It's going to be kind of in the 30s and 40s every day. So looking forward to that. So let's get into this week's episode. This week I've got friend Beau Martonik on. So Beau is a Pennsylvania guy, lives a couple hours south of us here in Western New York, and does a lot of his hunting, his whitetail hunting up in the state game lands, and a lot of hill country, big timber, and it's kind of his specialty is hunting mountain bucks. Mountain bucks is a term that I think he has made pretty popular. So that's kind of Beau's thing. And what I really wanted to get him on was to get into the gear talk side of things. So I think that's something we'll start to do a little bit more of here in the next month or two, is talk a little bit about what we're using for gear, but also try to get some different guests on that are kind of the gear junkies and can bring a little bit of info to you on that side. So if you are new to hunting or new to some of this new technology and gear that's out there, that you can get an idea what to trust and what to use based on people that are actually out there in the field using it around you, is kind of the idea. So Beau, I would encourage everybody to go and check out Beau's podcast. He's had a lot of good episodes with, whether it be owners of companies or employees of companies, such as Sitka, and I know he's had Aaron Snyder on from Kafaru, and I take a lot of my gear advice from Aaron Snyder at Kafaru, being that he spends so much time out in the woods and has a lot of experience that he can draw from as he's talking about different products and different things that you should have when you head into the woods. So I definitely encourage you to head over to Beau's podcast, do some listening there, kind of search through and look for different stuff. So a couple people, I mentioned Aaron Snyder, and I'll mention John Barclow. He was on Beau's maybe a couple times over the last couple of years. So head through Beau's list of podcasts episodes and see if you can check out a couple from those guys as we dive into layering systems. Is a big discussion that Beau and I have on this episode. So hope you enjoy it. Hope you, like I said to start this out, stay healthy, and no better thing to do than to get outside and walk around and enjoy needing to get some distance from people. I guess that's the one positive to take away from all this. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate the continued support. If you could, haven't said this in a while, but if you can make sure to like and follow and comment on the podcast, trying to help grow this a little bit, and need all of your help out there. Tell a friend if you like what we're doing, if you like what you're hearing. Make sure to tell them to check us out with the podcast and with our social media stuff as well. And would definitely like to continue to ask to get some input on what you'd like to hear. We really want to do what our listeners are interested in hearing. And if there's something that you want to know more about, whether it be weapons that we're using, ideas on what we're doing tactically wise, we're not the experts, and we're taking a lot of building our experience base and trying to become better and better at what we're doing. But I think having open dialogue and talking about some of the things that we're doing, seeing success with, or just engaging with some of you to learn about some of the things that you're doing, maybe you have something you want to bring to the podcast and jump on with us as well. So don't hesitate to reach out on any of the platforms that are out there that we are active on. So thanks again. Enjoy the show, and keep feeding them. Welcome to this week's Blog Talk podcast, brought to you by Pertnear Outdoors. And this is your host, Billy. And today I'm joined by the one and only Rut Stash Commander, Beau Martonik. So welcome, Beau. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. We've been trying to line this one up here for about a month or so now, and I'm glad we got it worked out.
Yeah, you're harder to get a hold of than Trump, man. I'll tell you what. You're running all over the place. You are. And it's so true, too, because when you're doing a podcast and you're trying to hunt, it's just like every spare minute you're just scrapping for it. So I know I'd reached out to you during, like, right before the rut, and you're like, hey man, I'd love to, but I got
Has
my
it been
own
that
show.
long?
Because I was
Geez.
trying to line people up to do to have some kind of like a rut conversation,
Yeah.
but I mean it was the same for us. Like I look back at the fall, I don't have a clue how I put deer on the ground, and I managed to put out 1 to 2 episodes a week. I don't know how the hell I did it, but it was survival
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah. And that's what I've learned to try to do. It doesn't always work out this way. Like this year it did not work out this way, but I try to have like a bunch of episodes logged, and then once hunting season comes, I can just edit them and record the intro and go, and not worry about, because one, it's hard to get a hold of people
Right.
To record. But this year I did not have it as, with the elk hunt and everything else ahead of the whitetail season. I ran out of stuff by like right around the rut, and I was scrambling.
Yeah.
And it was kind of messy, but it all works out, I guess.
It does. And I think everybody likes the genuineness of it too. Like, you're trying to put a show out, and you're also trying to put time in the woods too, so people get that as well. But so I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So for those of you listening that don't know who Beau Martonik is, Beau is from kind of basically straight south of me down in Pennsylvania. You're from the St. Mary's area-ish,
Yeah,
right? Is that where you're
Elk
from?
County. Yep, yeah.
So I don't really know how I connected with you. It was sometime or back around 2017 when we made our first trip out west. So I don't know how we stumbled across each other. I don't know, but I've been following right along with you. And I think, so kind of just run through a little bit of your background. You have a platform, East Meets West, and I think that was right around the same time that you were starting that up. So I guess kind of give a little bit of a rundown of kind of your platform and how that all got started, and why you got East Meets West up and running.
Yeah, so I'll back it up actually to 2016. I decided I wanted to go on my first Western hunt, and never did anything like that before. It was, one of those things that I discovered Cameron Haynes a little bit later in life than probably most did. I don't know, I never really had much exposure to outdoor television or anything else besides watching the Outdoor Channel on Sunday mornings and times like that. That was about it. But anyway, so I found some of his videos and talking about elk hunting. I'm like, man, I like, fitness, and I like working out, and I like hunting. This seems cool. I always thought, elk hunting was out of reach to me, because I just would see like the Primos videos and things like that, and thought it was for rich people.
Right.
And anyways, so I bought Cam's book, Backcountry Bow Hunting, and just read it cover to cover a couple times. Like, I'm going to do this. I want to. Reached out to my brother who was in the military at the time, and my cousin was like, hey, do you guys want to go elk hunting? And they're like, yeah, let's go, which I was surprised it was that easy, but
right.
They were like, yeah, let's do it. So began planning and going through all that stuff and reading. I spent countless hours on forums and places I really didn't need to be, but that's where I was, trying to figure out how to do these
a lot of Reddit blogs or what?
Yeah, basically. And it was like, I was trying to filter through this information. And then once I, figured out some streamlines to go, I found the University of Elk Hunting, Corey Jacobson's online course, and I found Go Hunt, some different things that helped streamline that for me, and did the hunt, and was not successful with filling a tag or anything. But like, that trip was so, I don't know, it was so crazy to me, because it was, like I said, something I never did before. And even though we didn't have, much luck, we had opportunities that, I'd love to have back. But just like, it just made me want to do it again. Like, by the end of it, I was ready to go home. And then like 3 hours in the drive home, I was like, oh, I want to be back, and planning that whole thing again. So anyways, I got back, and I wrote an article that, at the time I wasn't doing any outdoor writing, and now I do, a decent amount of it. And I just wrote it for myself, the story of the hunt. I was just kind of logging it in my phone as I went, writing it in the notes, and then got back and typed it up. And when I did that, I submitted it to this online journal called the Journal of Mountain Hunting, and they ran it as a subscriber story. I titled it East Meets West.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so I just shared it on Facebook and Instagram, and I had, back at that time, the platform was really small. It was just me sharing photos of, hunting whitetails and stuff. And, I had a lot of feedback from, people, mostly friends and stuff of mine saying like, oh, I wish I could do that. Well, how, but I wish I had your kind of money and, those type of comments. And I was just like, no, it really wasn't that hard. And I just kind of saw there was a gap in information there. And it took me a while. I mean, after that, it took me almost 2 years to launch East Meets West, the East Meets West Hunt podcast, and then, doing a lot more writing over that next year for the Journal of Mountain Hunting and some other different things. And I just saw that need, for it. So it was January 2018. I was working for an archery shop and I was at the ATA show. And I remember that time being like, one, I just thought this industry was so cool and I just liked a lot about it and wanted to, be able to help others, be able to plan those type of hunts like I was doing. And also for selfish reasons, wanting to learn more by getting to interview people that were, a lot better than I am in a lot of ways. So that's a long-winded way of saying I started the podcast then. It took me till about June to get it actually rolling. But the Total Archery Challenge, which, I met you at this past year,
Yep.
The year before that was, 2018. And that's where I got the whole thing started. That May, I was still dragging my feet on, I was setting it up as a legal business and doing a lot of things that probably didn't need to happen at that time, but I was just like dragging my feet with it. And
Right.
Rob from TAC called me. He's like, hey, I got you a booth. You said you're going to do this podcast thing. You might want to get that going. I was like, I got 3 weeks. He's like, figure it out. So
Right.
there's
the kick in the ass you needed. Yeah.
I basically pulled the stuff out of the box and started recording right there. And that was the beginning of it.
That's awesome.
And from there, it's kind of transformed into talking a lot about, hunting mountain bucks or, big woods whitetails that I've hunted my whole life, which wasn't originally the plan with it. It was mostly to be around Western hunting, but, the plan was to, show adventure, from east to west, and reality that covers, the Appalachian range. And you can take a lot of the Western hunting mindset that I've learned and apply it to hunting the East, and you do it.
Yeah.
It's really cool to be able to do that close to home.
It is for sure. And I think that's kind of one of the first things I wanted to touch on with you is, the background I get from just listening to you and following along with you over the last 3-4 years is that we're a lot alike in the fact that it sounds like you played a lot of sports growing up. Your priority may have been that, focusing, like hunting was always a thing in your life, but sports was a big part of it. So, it sounds like you probably got more and more into hunting once the sports part of your life kind of left you behind and you dove wholeheartedly into the outdoors and into hunting in particular.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I was like that, and then I got to about my junior year, and actually it was going into my senior year. I quit all sports.
Did you?
I was big into it, and I was just like, I wanted to hunt, and I kind of regret that now looking back because
right. You only get to do that once.
Yeah, but I couldn't do it, and so anyways, I did that, and it took me as my senior year in high school is when I killed my first buck with a bow, which I'd missed like 18 up until that point.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if it's the exact number, but a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I finally connected with one, which is still my oldest buck to date. It was aged 8.5 years old. So I mean, it was
no kidding.
I was a tank, but so that really got me going. And then in college, I kind of took a step back a little bit. I got a little bit into partying and chasing girls and doing that all fun stuff. But I met a group of people there that they were actually on the football team there, but they all loved to hunt. So we all lived together, and they had their Monday nights off for practice. So we'd all hunt together and hunt the public land around there, some farm field country that we got permission on, and that was in Western Pennsylvania. And then we started, like, basically one guy rented a farmhouse, and it was like a deer processing night,
Yeah.
There were so many does down there. At least someone was shooting something. You're cutting up deer meat and having, what they call like family dinners and the whole bit. And that kind of got me back into it again, probably about my junior year in college.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so similar because I played baseball all the way up through, and that was always a focus. And then I had a shoulder injury. I ended up it was my junior year, and that kind of ended my baseball career. I ended up having to have shoulder surgery, and it packed it in. But there was a group of guys in college. There was three guys on the baseball team, and then two kids that were my neighbors in my apartment complex that were just huge into hunting and fishing, and I haven't really thought about that in a long time, but that drew me back into it because you're away from home, you're away from the family aspect, but that you kind of surround yourself with some of those people, and they lit that fire back in me to get back out and get back out in the wild and start chasing things around.
Yeah.
Like, that's when it's so funny because it was never really a huge thing with me, and then it was once sports were over, it was like, this is like a complete obsession, and it has been ever since. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So then kind of dovetailing into that with you. So you in 2016, you go on your first trip out there, and you made a comment that there's a lot that you learned from the West that you brought back East. And after my first trip, I can definitely agree with that, especially hunting the area that you are in the mountains in PA and similar to the mountains in New York here. There's just a lot of stuff that growing up was never something that was discussed in our hunting camp, but then you go out west and you have to learn to hunt differently out there. So I guess kind of talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you came to realize when you went out west for the first time that you were able to bring back home.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of it came down to, it was just that I always knew that the way we hunted whitetails was different than what I was watching on TV and everything, but always thought of it as almost a negative thing, like that I was, my hands were tied because I didn't have access to this farm ground and all this stuff. And I think it really, by me going out there and it sounds corny, but just the adventure side of it, and like, it's just, you're hunting deer in their natural habitat. You're not influencing them in any way by, food sources that are planted and all this stuff. Like, you're just hunting, just big timber, just wild deer. And it's I'd arguably say it's some of the toughest hunting anywhere. I mean, even with elk hunting, with, anything, it's tough hunting. And so I was able to kind of bring that adventure style with it, and, incorporated backpack hunting into it a little bit, and, a lot more, ground hunting, and just doing a bunch of different stuff that, and a lot of that stuff my dad's done. I just never really thought much of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been kind of the biggest thing, is just looking at the way we hunt here differently, and appreciating it more, and not looking at it as a detrimental thing.
Right. Yeah, because you can feel really damn good about yourself if you go out and shoot a mature buck in the environments that you're hunting down there. It's a needle in a haystack in a lot of areas, and looking to see what the work you're putting in on a weekly basis is just constantly trying to analyze and understand what's going on in the woods and what the deer are doing, and it's a huge science to it. So I've taken a lot of the stuff that you're doing, and putting boots on the ground and doing a lot of hikes and just blowing through areas, just trying to see what's going on. I've been doing more of that rather than like just going to hunting camp come the weekend starting in October and not doing any of that homework ahead of time. That you can put so many pieces together by doing that stuff in the off season. And you can tell that that's what you've really become to live on, is that off season scouting for sure.
Oh, it's the spring is when I do most of my stuff. In the season is important, but it seems like the season goes by so fast, and with work and everything else, like most of the stuff I learned is in the spring, and then I kind of confirm that, during the season. It's not, I don't have to blindly walk around as much as I do in the spring,
right,
in the season, because I have, key areas kind of picked out.
Yeah. So I started getting us a little off track to talk, because I just want to talk whitetails with you, but I wanted to, because following along with you since 2016, 2017, you went out west, what, 4 times or 3 times in that time frame?
4 times.
4 times. So it was fun, like, honestly, following along with you. So you had a lot of trials and tribulations. You put a lot of time in out there, talking about, it was probably almost for you, and I'd be interested to know this, like, with you having the platform of the podcast and talking about it as much as you did you feel like that put more pressure on you, like, just talking about it 52 times a year with people and thinking about it nonstop?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say it didn't, but it definitely, I think I probably put more pressure on myself, but you still have that external pressure of, okay, I'm sitting here trying to help people plan Western hunts, which I don't ever claim to in the podcast, and hopefully you take it this way, but I don't ever claim to be like, oh, I'm an expert in this because I'm not.
Yeah.
I know how to plan them. I can plan a hunt, but
Yeah.
so anyways, I was just like, how long are anybody going to listen to me talk about not killing an elk? Like, I've done this now. This will be my 4th year. But I had to take that out of my mind and just focus on the hunt. And I knew that this last year I had to really just I didn't take any shortcuts and just apply it in every area as much as I could to focusing on it. And I think just the culmination of everything led to having success this year finally.
Yeah. So kind of run, not going to obviously get into the whole story about your Idaho hunt, but so you chose Idaho and you went out and went to a completely new area and dove into it and had success. And so I guess from what I'd like to know is, what was that like for you going out there into an area that you hadn't been before and hunting a little bit differently with a group of guys and diving in and having the success that you did, with a cameraman over your shoulder and everything that went along with that? That had to have added a dynamic there for sure too.
Yeah, I mean, switching to Idaho from Colorado was just based on, I was finding elk in Colorado, but I was finding more people, and it could change, a mile down the road. It doesn't mean Colorado in general is a bad state, but I was looking and, studying Go Hunt and Onyx and stuff, and I was just like, I wanted different terrain. I wanted to see more open country and glassing and some different stuff there that I just was different. And then just some of the statistics led me being like, I'd be kind of dumb not to try this. I mean, the success rate was almost 4 times of what I was hunting in the unit in Colorado, and I was just like, let's try something new, and go for it. And then I just tore apart areas with Onyx, created like a hunt plan. Basically, I broke down 5 like major areas, and then I split them up into sub areas, basically little creeks and drainages within those bigger areas, and then prioritize them, plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and just kind of went through that. And luckily, with this trip, I never had to leave plan A. It was actually the first spot I picked, but that was shit luck basically for, which I'll take that after over 30 days of elk hunting in the previous 4 years. I'll take that any way I can. But the scouting was a huge part in I think the success of that hunt specifically.
Yeah. And I mean the determination of it too. I mean, you talked 30 days. Most people, if you take 30 days of not having success, whether you're trying to kill a whitetail or kill a turkey or kill an elk, like it's frustrating. It definitely is. So, more power, more, kudos to you for sticking with it and, making it happen. So, I'll post a link for your video, but if you go and check out, any of Beau's platforms, you'll be able to get to his YouTube channel, or just go to YouTube and search Beau Martonik. And the video is up there of your elk hunt. It's an awesome video. Definitely enjoyed watching that, and share.
Yeah.
You did a great job. That your cameraman there did a fantastic job of being right over your shoulder, and it was like right there with you in the moment. It was fantastic.
Man, yeah, Justin Mueller was there with me, and we met through the internet, same way you and I did, through Instagram. But him and I were taking this hunting photographer online course together, and ended up messaging back and forth, and decided to do this hunt together. And I'd never met him until I pulled on the trailhead at 2 a.m. and just did it. And
That's crazy.
He was a great fit. I mean, he fit right in with all of me and my buddies. We're just a bunch of idiots, for lack of a better term. We like to have fun and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And he fit right in and just captured, some of the most epic film. And it was just, everything worked out in our favor. That's for sure.
How does drone make out?
It was good until I crashed it into the side of the mountain, and it was probably the funniest thing. Now it's funny looking back, but
Right.
it's ran at a cliff, and he couldn't tell where it was besides what was coming up on his screen. and it was countdown to his battery was dying. So he's like running, trying to climb, like literally he was scaling up this cliff to get it because so if you break the drone, it doesn't matter. You still can get the footage. He goes, even if you totally destroy it for like $100 some bucks, you can get it fixed.
Right.
But if you lose it, you lose everything.
It's gone.
And so he was trying to find it, and I was like, man, I'm deathly afraid of heights. Like I can't help you with this. Like I'll sit here and I don't know what to tell you. And I remember he called me from the phone. He's like, I found it. I'm like, where you at? And he waved at me. I lost track of him. He's like way up on this top.
Jesus.
And tried to guide him down through, and it was scary. He ripped his pants completely off, like lost his pants. Like it was on cactus and rocks, and it was really funny.
That's freaking wild. Again. Yeah, that's one of those things you definitely, everybody gets back to camp and you're sitting around and you're like, that was freaking wild. But in the moment, like, not good. Oh my God. I was like,
camera guy's dying right here. He's done.
So what course did you take for photography? Who'd you do that with?
It was called The Hunting Photographer, and it was with Zach Boughton and Stephen Drake.
Yep.
And it was just an online course, but it was cool because you got to interact with them and have video conference calls. And, it was an investment, but it was something that I wanted to get better at. And I knew if I wanted to take things to the next level and learn the business side of it and learn everything else, that kind of had to invest in myself and that there. So that was one of the things I did this past summer.
Oh, you did it this summer? Because I'm having
I
wonder, did you do it with Rob Herman? Were you in that same one with Rob?
I think he was in the class after me.
Okay, because I think he might have done it in August, I think his
I did it in June. I did the first class, and I think he was in the second one.
Yeah, because when you said that, I was thinking, I'm like, I wonder how many of those there are out there, because I know Rob and I, we played baseball in college together and good buddies.
Okay.
And so he lives in Denver, and he actually saved our ass when we were out there this fall because we needed a place to stay a couple times because Danny was in the hospital. So he was able to put us up and let us crash there. So Rob's a good dude. So he's doing some cool stuff in photography too. He's a pretty talented guy. So
yeah, he's super talented. I've checked out a lot of his stuff.
Yeah. So I live vicariously through you guys that aren't married and can just run the wild. Thank God for social media. Yeah, it was my life. I live. Little guy is like almost 2 years old, and he was butt naked after the bath tonight and peed all over the floor. So that's what I'm dealing with. So I don't know. You got that to look forward to someday, buddy. So
yeah, I'll look forward to it at some point. Yeah. I'm sure.
Live it up, man. Live it up.
Yeah.
So I guess just wrapping up the elk. That was awesome. Congrats on that, and would encourage everybody to go over and check out not just the video, but you had some fun kind of day-by-day recordings you did with your podcast as well that were fun to sit around the campfire and listen to you guys shoot the shit and have a good time. So definitely encourage everybody to check that out too.
Yeah, thank you. Those are my favorite ones, by the way. Those ones just recapping the end of the night, which sometimes didn't like doing them because you get so tired at the end of the night. And I'm like, hey guys, let's do a podcast. And they're like, really?
Yeah.
Like, giving me that look like, really, Beau, you're going to make us do that? I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah. Oh, when we went to PA this year, that was like we did one in the truck on the way back to camp each night. And then we did one. It was funny because to your point, the first few days, everybody was like a drag and nobody wanted to do it. And Billy, why we got it? But then the last night at camp, I couldn't believe it. We had like 6 guys on the mic and like they all wanted to be in and everybody's standing in the background listening. And I'm like, look at how this table turned here. Like nobody wanted to partake. And now we've got people lining up to get on the microphone. But yeah, it's good times. And that's what, I don't know. That's one of the things I'm loving about the podcasting is like you're capturing those memories and they're forever going to be with you to listen back to it. I mean, it's definitely one of the best parts to me.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. Like every piece of that, I've done the day by day thing for 2 years now, and I can go back and listen to that forever, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you with your dad. I think you and your dad were in Colorado, right? You did a bunch with him.
Yeah, yep.
That was definitely fun. Just listening to you and your dad feed off each other and chat, and it's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
So I wanted you're my gear guy. I rely on my Beau Martonik to keep me up to date with what's going on with gear, and you're pretty into that end of things. So you do a nice job covering, I would say, all kinds of gear. But one of the things that right off the bat when I first started following along with you did a lot with clothing and clothing systems, and you've had the opportunity to do some work with Sitka And I know you've had John Barklow on your podcast before, and I really like listening to him. And so I think it's something that I would imagine asking you, that a lot of your stuff changed once you went out west for the first time and came back, to your approach to your clothing system here, hunting, mountain bucks, hunting whitetails in the fall here. So I guess I kind of wanted to dig into that, like just kind of explain your approach to a clothing system as far as layering and, what you learned from going out west and brought back here that may have changed how you approached, what you're wearing throughout the whitetail season here in the Northeast.
Yeah. So I mean, I grew up wearing just cotton clothes and army BDU pants that I got from the surplus store, and like just a bunch of, one coat was the whole season, a big, heavy coat, and it would layer just sweatshirts and long underwear underneath. It was all cotton based stuff. And wondered why it still get cold. Never really thought too hard about it. Just knew I was still getting cold, at times from hiking and sweating, and you'd stay wet and everything. Well, when I started going out west, doing some research and talking to people, it's like, you can't wear cotton, and explain to me merino wool and the synthetics and everything along those lines. And I started to dabble in that stuff with like some Under Armour stuff, a couple years prior, base layers, and but still didn't really grasp why I was doing it. It just was kind of like the cool thing to do, and it felt good. I used that stuff in sports, and I was like, this is, it's cool to apply it to hunting. It's in camo now. But until I really learned how a proper layering system can, move moisture throughout your body and be able to keep yourself dry and, regulate your temperature, is when it really changed me. I mean, like you said, out west, it's really critical. I mean, when you're backpack hunting, as you know, like you're not taking, you can't pack a whole dresser full of clothes for 7 days. You're taking the bare minimum, and it needs to last, and it needs to, and be able to layer, which, depending on when it's, 75 degrees during the day and it's 25 at night. You got to be able to, adapt to those changes, and, a few different layers. And I brought that back to whitetail hunting, even though, you're just, saying just sitting in a tree stand, there's the hike in that, I would get sweaty for. So I've learned to, go in light and, wearing either synthetics or wool that you're able to, you're going to sweat no matter what. You don't want clothes that make you not sweat. You want to sweat, but you need something that's going to move that through your system. So once you get to your stand, then you start putting layers on. And, whether that be, a puffy layer or an insulation layer, that then the moisture kind of moves into that, and then it'll move into the outer shell, which the outer shell's job is to keep the elements off of you, but also still breathe. So in the form of, a wind stopper or a Gore-Tex from Sitka. And essentially, like I said, it just made me be able to stay in the stand longer and be able to, withstand the elements. And it was funny because we were talking about my dad a little bit ago, but he, even first few years discovering Sitka and just general, high-end, layering systems, he was still not buying it. He's wearing, literally would just layer under his lightweight pants no matter throughout the year. And he'd come back, he'd be cold and miserable. He wouldn't say much, but he wouldn't,
Right, you wouldn't
he was
complain.
still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't really want to talk to him, but he just didn't, just did it.
Right.
And as I started getting him, I started, him, my brother and myself would buy him a few pieces for Christmas and things like that. And, all of a sudden he started asking me, hey, what do you think about this? And then he's buying things and he wants this and that. And I'm like, all right.
Yep.
And now he's got a full Sitka system. He's like, this stuff's awesome, And
So your dad's all in on it too then?
Oh, he's all in on
That's
it.
awesome, yeah.
And it took him probably like almost 3 years or 2 years to really even admit to it. Like, but now, I mean, he's talking to his brothers and all that, the rest of my family and stuff. They're like, man, this stuff's,
Yeah.
good. He's like, I can sit in the stand all day. Like, it's not bulky. I don't have to,
It's quiet.
be strapping things around my arms on this side so it doesn't hit my bowstring. And yeah, it's quiet. And it was a, big wake up call for him. And I really learned a lot of this
because the first year when I was going out west, I also started working at a bow shop part-time, which was a Sitka dealer. So we all had to go through training to be able to sell it. So that's how I really learned the ins and outs and got to know John Barklow from working at that shop and learning how to set up systems. I kind of became their Sitka expert, for lack of better terms. When anybody would come in and want to learn about it, I would talk about it, and not from a selling point for Sitka, more or less of educating people on proper layering.
Yeah.
And just the idea that you want a proper layering system to move moisture away from your skin, which is going to control your body for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so funny because it's such a basic principle, but it's so like it's just not the norm here in the East. Like I was looking on a forum. There's a local guy here, Jesse Coots, and you probably heard of Jesse before. He was on Wired to Hunt, and now Jesse's got his own podcast, and he had posted like just what type of questions that people like to have answered, and somebody was talking about that they want to buy new hunting gear. What's some good heavyweight clothing to wear? And the first thing that came to my mind from what I've picked up over the last few years is, what's the base layer that you're running? Because so many guys, even if you're only going to walk 500 yards to get to your hunting blind, if you wear every piece of clothing you're going to wear and you're wearing cotton underneath and big heavy wool socks and insulated boots, and you build up some heat going there, you might feel fine when you sit down, but that's as warm as you're going to get. And then you're just sitting there and you're just wet, and then you get elements hitting you. Next thing you know, you're cold. And so after going on my first trip out west and having that super minimal clothing system, but building it in a way, and I used merino base layers to go out west the first time. I had a Sitka core lightweight hoodie, and that turned in very quickly into like my favorite piece of clothing. That lightweight hoodie is just unbelievable. Like you can wear that thing all season long, and you can wear a vest over the top of it when it's 20 degrees out and you're hiking and you're like comfortable and fine. So it's very interesting once you start to figure that system out, and you can go so minimal. And I see the guys around us, like we go down and we do hunt in PA there and do a lot of big woods still hunts and drives, and the guys that come down for their first time that they're just using their whitetail tree stand gear, they're shot by the end of the first day. They're exhausted because their clothes are heavy, they're soaking wet, they're cold, they're uncomfortable. And us guys that have built a system of clothing with a good layering system to pull that moisture away and to handle things the way that you're explaining, we're comfortable, we're fine, we can wear the same clothes 3 days in a row, and you're not all stunk up, and you're not battling the shivers every time you sit down.
Yeah. And what's crazy to me is like, so that's one of the things that it's not the anybody's fault for it, but the biggest thing is so what Sitka jacket and pants can I get to get me through the whole season, or what for cold weather or whatever? I'm like, all right, well all right. So like, all right, I can't answer that very easily. So you got a few minutes because I'm gonna dive deep, and and I'm like, all right, it starts with your base layers. I said, because there's not one jacket and pant system or bib system that's gonna get you through everything, because that means compromise. Something that's good for everything means that it's only decent at it at best. And anyways, it starts with your base layers, and that means your socks and underwear too. That's something that is overlooked a lot. Okay, I'm gonna get this nice jacket and pants, but I'm gonna wear cotton underwear underneath. It's not. It's
cotton
not great
socks.
for that.
Cotton socks. My feet are always the first thing that gets cold. And if your feet are cold, you're done, because then your whole body, you just start kind of just getting the shivers. And so what do you run for socks?
I'm running darn tough socks.
Yep.
They're merino wool. I like them so much. I mean, I wear them. I have them for work now. I use them work out, and like they're awesome. But so darn tough socks they're expensive. They're out of Vermont. You're looking at paying $15 to $20 a pair, which is crazy, but they're literally lifetime warranty on a pair of socks. I'm wearing a pair right now that I've had since 2016 for sure. I've heard them on some podcast, and I bought them, and I wear them at least once a week, and when I'm out west, I'll wear the same pair for days and days on end, and there's no tears, there's no holes in them. My feet are always comfortable. It's amazing.
So you've never had to even use the warranty on them then?
No, I've never,
Wow.
and I probably own, I don't know, 10 pair now total, between lightweight socks in the summer, workout ones, and heavyweight ones for whitetail hunting. I have a whole bunch of different and never wear through them. Um, Totally sold on that idea. And the other thing, I was gonna say with that is, yeah, my feet always got cold was one big thing, which I stopped wearing rubber boots too, by the way. I started wearing lighter weight leather ones. And even though the insulation isn't as much, you don't sweat in them, so it makes it better when you're sitting. And also, I mean, even down to the fact that everyone always says, pair of work boots, they're gonna stink. Or hunting boots, they stink. That's because probably you're wearing cotton socks in there. You wear merino wool stuff, you don't have that problem.
Yeah.
You
You
your
know,
feet don't stink.
I just got a set of insoles. It's actually like just too late it was like I got them right before the end of hunting season, but they're a pair of merino wool, Surefoot, I think is what they are, insoles. I got them from Black Ovis, but they're merino wool. And
Really?
yeah, so I took out my feet would start to ache. I've got Cabela's Mendel's, Perfect
Yep.
Hunters is what I have. And, love the boot, I love the boot. It's very comfortable. But the issue I was having is that after being on my feet, especially when I was carrying a heavy pack for hours on end, my bottoms of my feet would start aching. And so I went and I bought these. They were on sale. I think it was Cyber Monday maybe on Black Ovis. And I bought these. I'm pretty sure they're Surefoot. And night and day. Like I haven't carried any 65, 70-pound loads, but I've done a lot of hiking, been on my feet for hours on end with them on. And like that made a huge difference. I was kind of blown away. I wasn't expecting insoles to make that big of a difference, but
Yeah.
I guess starting from the bottom, you got I agree, like wearing the lightweight, kind of Western style hunting boot with good socks, and I'm interested to see how that performs in the cold weather when sitting in the stand having the merino.
Yeah,
soles
I've
on there.
never heard of that before.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've had problems with, aching feet too. Not like blisters, not so, like my boot fits good, everything's good. It's just sometimes I get that aching in there. And I switched to super feet insoles, which have helped a lot. And those have been really good. But the other boots I've been running these crispy Wild Rock Gore-Tex boots. They're like 400 gram insulation, so they have a little bit of insulation, but still light enough to hike in and do everything there. But
Yeah, they are super feet. Super feet merino gray is what they are.
oh, they are made by Super Feet.
Yeah. Surefoot's that's a skiing brand. I have Surefoot in my ski boots is what I was thinking. But yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's you should check them out. I don't think they were that much. I want to say they're like $40, but for and you just pop them out and put them right in, and I didn't even have to trim mine. I guess I'm blessed. I just popped them out and put them right in. They fit and everything. I was like, damn, that's freaking awesome. But yeah. So what are you running? I mean, obviously you got a lot of sick good gear, but I guess what's like your go-to for whitetail hunting around here? What's your layering system for, let's say, you're going to have your extreme temperatures where you might bust out, your heavyweight fanatic system or whatever. But let's say the majority of archery season where you're kind of between maybe 20 degrees and 40 degrees, what's your sweet spot? I think that's kind of our average temperatures around here. So what are you wearing for a layering system and kind of different pieces there that you're wearing?
Yeah, so I'd say there's two different base layers that I kind of go back and forth with. The standard core lightweight synthetic base layer I'm wearing most of the time, but I've found recently I've always liked the lightest weight base layer possible next to my skin and just for moisture management, but I've been running the Sitka heavyweight merino against my skin. And what that is, it's actually like a polyester synthetic against your skin and then merino on top of it. So it almost acts as two different layers. to help move that moisture quicker. And so I've been wearing that. It's like a quarter zip base, and then the Fanatic hoodie on top of that, and then the Stratus jacket and Stratus bibs. And then the bottom, I'm wearing the core heavyweight merino bottoms, and then just the Stratus bibs. Like I'm saying, that's for the most part what I'm doing. If I have a long hike in, sometimes I'll wear their Timberline pants underneath all that, and I'll pack in the bibs. And normally I'll walk in with the Timberline pants, and the Fanatic hoodie is the most I'll wear as an outer layer to hike in, and then I'll pack in my Stratus system. And then if it gets cold in my pack, I always have the Celsius midi, which is like a packable, quiet layer there, and I also like the Fanatic vests too, but which is the hand muff is just so warm in that thing. It's awesome, and the pocket layouts of it, but it adds a little bit more bulk around your face than the Stratus does.
Yeah.
So this past year, I've been really liking the Stratus for about 90% of my hunts.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like spot on with what I got lucky. I found the Stratus stuff in the Cabela's bargain cave, and I was like shocked at the price I got on it. So I stole that stuff a couple of years ago, and it is so versatile. So like I'm running pretty much the same thing, except for I have just the Stratus pants, not the bibs. And I think the bibs would be nice because you kind of cover your whole core up. That would be ideal, but Stratus has Windstopper in it, correct?
Yeah, that's the main selling point with Stratus. It's not very heavy.
No.
They don't feel very heavy whatsoever, but it's Windstopper. So anything you layer underneath it just cuts the wind out, so you don't need anything heavy. But that was my first piece of Sitka I owned, and it was actually before I started going out west. I bought that from a buddy in 2013 or 14. It was the old original Optifade elevated forest that was like almost like a bluish green tint to it, and that I had that, and that was my first piece that I had owned from them. And then I had actually the jacket faded color over time, and I wasn't even the original buyer of it. And I called Sitka, and they asked to send it back in for repair, and they just sent me a brand new jacket.
Oh shit!
And that was before I did any work with them. Anything. It was just regular customer calling in, and color had faded, and they sent me a brand new jacket. And it's like that customer service is great. And that original pattern I had problem with. I had the original tool bucket pack in that color too. Again, I bought it used. And same thing, color faded, sent me a brand new pack. I was like,
yeah,
that's
I haven't
awesome.
had to tap in on that yet, but that is something in the back of my mind that's, I think as you get to a point in your life where you can spend money on quality gear, it's so worth it to look at how the company stands behind the product. And I've heard that of Sitka. I haven't had to use it yet. I have Thunderhead Gators, and one of the buttons popped off. I didn't want to send them back during deer season, but I'm definitely going to lean on that to send them back and get them either repaired or however they want to handle that. But, I think that's one thing, as you you do get a little bit older and you can justify buying quality stuff, don't cut the corners, and there's several good brands out there now in the hunting industry that are doing that. And I think it's good to have a brand like Sitka that's, they've set the bar so high with, their quality of the goods and how they're standing behind it, that everybody's kind of having to step their game up, but.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I mean, there's a lot of companies doing great things and everything, and Sitka's, their warranty. And I mean, I guess I wasn't always this way. Like you said, as you get older and you start to appreciate quality gear, and I look more behind what the company stands for than I do with the gear itself a lot of times. And if they're going to stand behind me on it, if you look at a lot of the stuff I use is that's kind of the case behind it. So I know what you mean.
So on we don't think we talked much about puffy stuff, but that was something that I never ever had experience with until venturing out west, and I bought a Kelvin Light hoodie, and that changed my approach to having heavy clothing, because I just lean on that Kelvin Light hoodie for I mean, that's pretty much all I carry in my pack, and I'm wearing pretty comfortable clothing. And when it comes down to I get sweated up or there's a pretty good stiff wind, you throw that over the top of stuff and, it warms you right up. It's incredible how having that puffy layer can just, it's a key piece, I think. And as Eastern hunters, you don't really think about that, but
I love the hood on it too. Like just
it's tight.
Putting that up. It's just, you can cinch it down in your head and you're cozy. Like you said, you don't need to. I remember the first, I had that. And before that, I had the Kelvin Light vest I bought off eBay. And it was, the original version of that too is in like a lead gray color. And I remember I took it to deer camp in Ohio. And my dad's friends picked it up on the couch and they go, if I found this in the woods, I'd leave it there. They're like, this thing's so light, it won't do anything. I'm like, no, like it adds so much insulation. They're like, what do you mean? This thing weighs like a few ounces. And it's crazy.
It is crazy. I'll tell you what, it's so fun being around hunting camp because my brother, he really likes First Light. So he's running, he's got freaking everything First Light. And I've gone head over heels for Sitka. So he's got all his stuff. I got all my stuff. And then everybody else in camp is like, they're just running whatever. They've always run for years. And my uncle is a freaking, I don't even know how he does it, but he wears like classic long johns, blue jeans, and then non-insulated Carhartt bibs. And like, that's what he wears when it's 15 degrees out. I don't know how you're doing it, but he does it, and God bless him. He's harder than freaking woodpecker lips, but he does it. And I don't know. So, but now my brother and I are bringing all this high quality gear into camp, and everybody's kind of like sniffing around, like, what's that vest about? I got the Fanatic vest, and they're like, man, look at those pockets, and that's really weird how it zips and stuff. And you start explaining it to everybody, and they put it on, and you can kind of see the gears turn in their head that this gear is like thought out. It's not just some piece of clothing that I'm throwing on and running up. I know it's Sitka's line, but it's like it's gear. It's not clothing. It's gear. It's a system, and it's so true. Like once you figure it out, it just makes your entire approach to being out in the woods, so much easier.
Oh, that's so true, and that's the same thing at my hunting camp. Like still, like a lot of my uncles and everything aren't totally bought into the whole thing, but they're more and more, getting into like, looking at it and liking the idea of it. It's just like when everyone's cold and soaking wet and I'm coming back smiling and being like, yeah, that wasn't too bad, was it? I kind of like it. Like I like when we get some crazy weather and I can zip up my Gore-Tex jacket and just sit there and
take it,
get hit with it, and be like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, you remember that it would have been the last Saturday of PA's rifle season this year. That day, you remember that? I mean, it was just a soaker, and it was like 36, 38 degrees and just freaking pissing rain all day long. And it was very interesting seeing everybody's preparation for that. We had, I had Gore-Tex everything on, and I still got wet, but I was not nearly. There was a couple guys that were like, if I stop moving, like I'm gonna lock up, like I'm frozen solid. I need to get in a truck. We can't keep going like this. So it's it pays to have that gear. And what I was gonna say, we've been talking a lot about Sitka, or you talk about First Light. Those are high end gear companies. And one of the things that I always took from listening to some of the podcasts from the guys that primarily go out west is that you don't need to have name brand stuff, or you can look and buy. You can buy a lot of things, right? You've talked several times about buying pieces that are on sale on eBay or buying from a buddy. There's all these swapping sites. So like if you want to get into this higher quality gear, number one, you can find clearance sales, you can find discounts on websites, and number two, you can buy, like I have a lot of Cabela's branded stuff that I just watch for specials, and you build your system out with a Gore-Tex layer, and that's your outer layer. And I have solid colors. I don't care. I can wear them all throughout the year. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
So don't take what I'm saying is don't take what you and I are saying that you have to have brand A or brand B. You can build your system out. Just have a basic understanding of how to layer and be prepared for different climates and weather situations you can run into.
Yeah, I do want to add to that, and that's a really, really good point, because I can get caught up in getting geeked out on gear and everything. But what I've built, like this system that I have, was built over the last 7 years essentially of time. And at the beginning of it, it is expensive. It's an investment, and I was buying one piece here, one piece there. Like I said, buying things used, you can wash for those type of things, finding end of the year sales, whatever it might be, to just slowly build that up. And I got to a point where now it's like, oh yeah, it's you're lucky you get to have all this stuff to use. And I am now. I do some product testing for Sitka, so it's a little bit different, but I didn't start with that. Like, I literally bought all of it and built it over time. I work regular job. I do not have kids, and I'm not married, so I do have that luxury.
Right.
I'm not gonna sit there and lie to you there.
Better be careful of that mustache, Beau. You might come home with something.
No, I got it. It's a tough thing to get through, but
Yeah.
but anyways, it's one of those things, like, you can piece together things, and it doesn't have to be brand X or whatever. And I'm sure once you start using things, it's going to be tough to talk yourself out of wanting that quality stuff.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but believe me, it's fun to do that, and it definitely puts you out there longer. But don't ever let that be a barrier to doing any of this stuff.
For sure. By any chance, have you ever been on that Facebook, the Sitka trading and trade sell, buy trade sell?
Oh yeah.
Sweet Jesus, the amount of stuff that's on there. Like,
I used to sell stuff on there.
Did you?
A while ago. I used to buy stuff off there too.
Yeah.
Trade people.
I mean, some of the stuff that the lots these people put up, I mean, you're talking like, thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and they're like, never worn. It's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, how?
Yeah.
Whatever deal you're running, I want to know, because I don't want to know if you're buying that much stuff and you're never using it. Like, what the hell? But
Yeah.
yeah,
Sounds like the better half got mad and didn't realize they bought it. And
what's in these
had to put
boxes
it back
down
up
here?
for sale.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I needed to hit my Cabela's points number for the year so I could keep my black card or something. You never know. But I mean, I've got myself and my buddies. I've got them pretty well hooked on Camo Fire. And if you watch, I don't know if you've used that store, but it's kind of like a drug. I mean, I watch that thing daily, and you can stumble across. I've stumbled across some really, really good deals on there. You have to shop it. You got to watch, because sometimes they run stuff over and over again, and it's not really that great of a deal. But sites like that, I mean, you can watch them, and you can do really well purchasing gear. So.
Yeah, which Camo Fire is owned by Black Ovis.
Mm-hmm.
There's that website. I found that years ago, and now they have an app for it, which I won't download because I don't need it. Actually don't even check it anymore.
Yeah.
Even though there's great deals, because I know I'll buy things I don't need.
Right.
So be aware of that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So kind of just the last few things I wanted to hit on, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. Just kind of gear wise, I know I've listened to a couple recent podcasts. You've been talking about saddle hunting. It sounds like that's something you got into this past year. So you've been a run and gun guy for a while, and this year it sounds like you jumped full in on the saddle. What's your opinion on that? What you've experienced doing the saddle hunting this year.
So I'll give you a quick background. I ran climbers for a ton of years. That was kind of my run and gun setup, and then kind of switched to climbers and hang on stands and sticks. Did that for quite a few years, and then this past year, I've been intrigued by saddles for a while, but super skeptical. And this past year, I decided to try it out, and I picked up on it a lot faster than I expected. And there's still some quirks I'm trying to work out with it. But I literally got my saddle in the middle of October, so I didn't practice with it at all. Completely on me for that. But this year, this summer especially, I'll be practicing shooting out of it. I think was my biggest thing. Some awkward angles, trying to figure out how to do that, which it's possible, and I've done it. But just practicing that would help that learning curve. But as far as lightweight, I can walk around scouting at all times with my saddle and sticks and not feel like you're weighed down. Set up in a whim, be set up in a short amount of time, get in there. And the biggest thing is, like, there's no way that's comfortable for all day sits. And it took me probably a few different hunts of figuring out how to adjust my tether and some of the adjustments there. And I pulled, I think it was like 6 days in a row, I hunted dark to dark in my saddle, and I was fine. Just as you still have your discomforts as you do in a regular tree stand, but you just keep adjusting how you're sitting, and
Yeah.
I was good at it.
I think that's the beauty of the saddle is that you can adjust it in so many different ways. Where when you're in a portable, you're either standing or you're sitting, and when you're in a climber, you're standing or. I mean, climbers are fantastic. That you're never going to say a climber is like. The only problem with a climber is the bulkiness of it and the noise it makes. Aside from that, it's like the greatest freaking thing ever invented because it's the most comfortable thing you can sit in a tree for 12 hours a day in. But yeah. But I mean, it is the adjustability, and I did the same thing. So I ran my saddle all year. I got it in August, so I had a chance to kind of run it a little bit. But Jesus, the first couple times approaching a tree, that wasn't prepped, and it took so long to get up in there because it had no freaking clue. And so when you climb up the tree, this is something I haven't really heard a ton of people talk about. Are you carrying your pack up the tree with you, or are you leaving your pack on the ground?
I keep it with me.
Do you?
There's nothing on the ground when I go up. So I keep my pack on my back with my bow attached to that. I have all my sticks slung around my saddle using bungee cords to hold them on my hips. And then I actually use a carabiner to take my actual saddle platform and attach that to my saddle as well. So I have everything next to me or on my back as I'm going up. And so as I'm going, I'm taking sticks off, clipping it on the tree as I have my lineman's rope around, attached to my saddle. So I'm always tied off. I can work hands free. And once I get to the last stick, I put the platform down, step up onto it, tie my tether in, and then I'll pull out from the one pouch I have on my tethered saddle there. I pulled out the daisy chain that runs around the tree that I have a carabiner hooked to it to be able to hang my backpack and my bow. So then I take my backpack off, I hang that on the carabiner, pull my bow off the back of that, hang it on the other side of the tree with the other carabiner that has a little hook hanging off it, hang that there, and I'm basically set up at that point.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a little bit to figure out that system, but I have everything set up the way I put things in my bag, and that it's flawless when I go up and go down. I do it in reverse order going down, and it's almost like I'm a robot, but it works pretty well.
Yeah. Once you figure it out, that's the key. But are you able to talk about the backpack you were using?
I can, and I can't say certain details, but yes, I can.
So I guess so you were running a prototype pack, and so what? How was that? Were you able to strap the climbing sticks down tight to that pack, like where there wasn't a lot of moving around when you were walking through the woods and hauling? What I was using, I used my Reckoning all year. And
Yep.
I loved that for having. I put my, I'm running Hawk Heliums, and have them stuck together. They got little suction cups on them, and I would put that in slide them right down. It'd unzip my Reckoning. I'd slide them right in there, and you strap that sucker down tight, and I mean it is on your back good. But that's what I was running into is I get to the base of the tree, and that pack is so large that it was just not convenient for leaving it on your back and going up the tree, because then you have this monstrosity of a freaking backpack hanging with you from the tree. So that's why I was kind of curious. But so that backpack from Sitka did perform well with your sticks strapped in there while you were hiking.
Yeah. So first of all, I ran Reckoning for whitetail hunting for a while. I love that pack.
Yeah, me too.
It's great. It's a great pack. It is a little bit overkill for size and stuff, but I've loved it. I've packed whitetail out with it, and I've pack stands. I'd actually take the stand and just strap on the back, not even take it, because the frame carries weight so well.
Yeah.
You can put it, 3 feet away from your back and you still don't feel it that much. But anyway, so with the new Sitka pack, it has 2 wings on the side that kind of open up. And sorry for anyone who can't see this, I'm talking with my hands a little bit, so hopefully I explained it a little bit better. But so I put the sticks inside those wings, and there's 2 other straps that are inside there that really cinch them tight. So you can put I run 2 sticks on each side and cinch those down, and then take the wings and really clamp them in there. There's zero movement. I run in the hawk heliums too, and mine don't have the suction cups. They're the older ones, and they still don't make any noise, no movement. They're strapped and they're tight. And then when I'm running my saddle platform, I just put it on the outside, which the pack wasn't originally designed for a saddle, but it fits perfect in this outside where you would normally strap a bow onto. That's where I'm walking into the woods. I strap it in there and close it. And then it's also got where you can pull apart the frame from the bag and put a tree stand in there.
Okay, right up against your back you can.
Yeah,
okay.
Right against your back. And a few other different features that make carrying a load better. Because I used Sitka's Toolbox, their old version in the past, and just it was a little bit cumbersome to tear apart and put a stand in there, and just didn't carry weight exactly how I liked. And this new pack is really hit the bill, and I've been testing that for the last 3 years now, working on the development of it. So it's been a really cool process. I truly think it's built for, I guess rut hunting mountain bucks where it's a bigger pack. It's not a minimalist pack by any means, but stuff your layers in there. You can have everything. I like to carry a lot of stuff, so that it made sense.
Yeah. I think that's one of those things, like a pack, you don't realize how important a pack is until you're doing kind of that mobile hunting, but then also with the potential of needing to get a deer out of the woods. And I think once you become comfortable with quartering a deer, you'll never drag a deer again, because it's just so much more efficient to get them out of the woods than, especially if you're hunting back in a distance where you can't, get a forwarder to them or do anything like that. So is that pack, is it big enough to the point where you could throw a quarter in there, or a couple quarters, or if you boned it out, you could get some meat out of the woods?
So you can actually put it in between the frame.
Okay.
So it's built that way, and it has almost like a little load shelf, but it's not going to be as comfortable as you're reckoning, I would say, but with a deer, you don't notice it as much. But, so it's not as comfortable as a fully framed pack, but it's lighter weight, so it's kind of a little bit of compromise there. But yes, it's able to carry deer meat.
Yeah. Nice. Well, patiently, do you have any idea kind of roughly when they're next season, or when they might be
May
coming
or
out
June.
with that? Yeah.
May or June. So normally Sitka releases all their stuff at the ATA show, and they're doing a different strategy this year. I don't know, but I guess it's not. Whenever they release the information on it, it's going to be available right now.
Nice.
So it'll be out this year.
Be keeping an eye on that, because I want to change something up, because I love carrying a pack, but I also want something. I either have my big Kafaru pack, which I love to death, but then I don't have anything in between. I've got a kind of a small like Field and Stream pack, but that's definitely not. There's no structure to it. You can't cinch it down. So if you have something that sticks that you don't want flopping around, there's so much value to that. And it's so funny because you don't know what you've got, or you don't know what you don't have until you have something nice, and then you're like, oh my God, I want to tweak this. I want to have something a little bit different. Where if all you ever knew was just a Field and Stream $35 backpack, you're like, oh, that's just what it is. But you start getting some of this specialized gear, like it makes your experience in the woods that much better, and you always want to keep tweaking. It's like a freaking drug, but.
Oh, it is, and that's like the same thing with like my sticks. Hawk helium sticks are light. I want to modify them and cut them and use aiders. I've watched all these videos on the internet. I'm like, Jesus. I want to do all that stuff, and I'm like, before I was thinking about posting a picture of this. It's funny. I have a picture of me packing in my mobile setup before that was those big like Field and Stream steel sticks.
Yeah.
I had them inside of my pack with this big heavy Summit climber or hang-on stand, and it's comical. Like I was packing like 60 pounds, and stand and sticks and everything before, and now I have these lightweight Hawk ones. I'm still trying to make them lighter.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, there's so much information out there too, and you've had some pretty interesting guys on in the last month and a half that, they are like deep into this stuff, and for me, it's like. I have all the aspirations in the world, but it's like I don't, my brother-in-law, he just showed me that he's got this shrink wrap he got from work, and he's shrink wrapped, and I'm going to have him make a video and put it out. I've never seen anything like it. I'm sure somebody's doing it, but shrink wrapped around the buckles on, like the cinch strap buckles on his sticks. He's got the Lone Wolf sticks, and they're metal buckles. So he's got this cinch strap or shrink wrap. It's like a rubberized, and he heat it up and it shrinks down, and then he used like an X-Acto knife and cut around where the actual straps go through. So now it's just rubber. It's dead silent. So he's like, check this shit out, man. I figured that out. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that is slick. Because he's sitting there. I saw him over at the farm the other day, and he's prepping a tree because he's going to buy a saddle, and so he wanted to kind of prep a tree up and mess around with it. And he's like carrying his sticks. They're all stacked together, and he's got I think it's a Lone Wolf like stick caddy, I think is what he called it. So it's kind of got a little bit of a nylon strap that wraps around the sticks, and then it's got a little loop that you can hold onto with your hand. But then he had that rubber on the buckles, and I'm like, what the hell is he running there? And so he kind of modded it himself. I'm like, that's freaking slick.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, you can go deep with this stuff, that's for sure. But I guess last question I got for you is trail cameras. Do you run any cell phone cameras? Did you get into that this year?
I did. This past year was, well, the second year I tried. The first year I got one. I got it as a gift, and it was a Bushnell one that was AT&T, which we don't have good AT&T service at LA anywhere, so that it's never worked.
Yeah.
But this year I got an Exodus render camera. It was Verizon service. And again, I don't have a lot of areas that I have full cell phone coverage, but I did run it, and it's still in the woods now. I plan on turning it off, but wanted to see how long it would go. It's been taking photos on a scrape since September 1st, and it's still running on the same set of batteries.
No shit.
With being able to send the photos. It's kind of addicting to look at it in the morning and stuff when they pop up on your phone.
So do you have it set to send to you every single day? You get whatever happened over the last 24 hours comes to you?
I get it real time.
Oh, you do get it real time. And it's still running?
It's still running.
Holy Jesus.
And I mean, it's on a scrape, so it's not a food source, but right now, like this area, it's underneath this pine tree, and there's not as much snow there, and deer digging and eating and doing a whole bunch of different stuff, bedding in front of the scrape. So sometimes I'm getting 100 pictures in a night or the day, and it's still, I don't know what the total is, but I bet it's probably close to 5,000 photos it's taken and sent to me in 6 months.
And still the same set of batteries.
Still the same set of batteries.
It's awesome, man.
Pretty crazy.
You're running lithiums in them, right?
Yeah. I started running lithiums in all my cameras last year. Huge difference. I know it's such an upfront cost, but I buy them in bulk off either Amazon or eBay, and they last so much longer.
Yeah.
I rarely have to change batteries in a camera once I put new set in for the year.
Yeah. We're finding that they're operating better too. Like we were having a lot of SD card issues and cameras not taking pictures or flashes not working. And we actually started testing some of the batteries we were getting, just like regular Energizer batteries, and they're not full charge right out of the box, brand new. So lithium's 100% worth it. Trail camera.
We ran into that with Duracells too, buying the bulk pack of 100 of regular Duracells, and not all of them were charged like they're supposed to be.
Gotta love it. Last question for you on PA mountain bucks. What the hell are they digging for in late season? Like, let's say it's beginning of December. So last weekend of season we were down there this year, and they were just digging in like mounds of dirt. What are they feeding on or digging for?
It depends. A lot of times they're eating ferns that are in the ground there, but as far as just digging into the dirt, roots, they'll eat freaking anything. I literally, every time I'm amazed by some of the stuff they're eating. When it's icy out, any twig that's on the ground, if there's like a top of a tree down, even if there's no leaves, just eating the branches. I mean, they eat kind of whatever. If there's anything in the ground there that they could be, they like different vines and stuff there. But yeah, I don't know specifically in a lot of those areas. Like I try to look for sheds a lot of times. I'm finding areas that are just digging all over in the dirt and the side hills and there's no acorns, there's no anything there, but they're digging for it. The best I can see is you can see like little pieces of roots for plants or ferns that looks like they're chewing on. So.
Yeah, that's what we were finding, and it was like we were finding hardly any sign, and then all of a sudden we'd stumble into it, and it was just like the whole area is just tore up, and it looks like it. You know, if you're walking through an area, it looks like they're just scraping, but they're not. They're feeding, and we were all just curious. We've never seen anything like that up here before, so curious what the hell. But they're just eating whatever the hell they can get inside them to fuel the fire.
Yeah, there's the thing with a lot of things with mountain bucks. There's like literally not a straightforward answer. It's just like they kind of do whatever they want. Like a lot of times, I was literally laughing. I found a bed. I study them, think I know a lot of things with bedding somewhat, and then I'm like walking through the wide open timber, and there's just like 4 beds there, no cover around, no anything that makes sense of why they would be bedding there. I'm just a rock, and they're like, it's like laying on this rock that's poking them in the side, and like,
Just
whatever.
seemed like a good spot to lay down. You know, that's
Just do it, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
yeah. Yeah, that's why we need professionals like you to help us understand how to scout them, because they just lay down wherever, you know. Don't let your secrets out.
I can never be wrong, because if I say something that's like, oh, well, you can't do that.
They do what
might
they
not.
do. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm like the weatherman, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Can't get mad at you.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate your time, and good finally catching up with you. And we'll have to do it again sometime. And if you ever want to wander north and chase something around up here, you're always welcome. So
Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on, man. It was a good time.
absolutely. Thanks, Beau. Have a good night. See you, buddy.
See ya.